Hello everyone, hope you're doing well. Today we're back on the second dev server for update 1.81 and we have a new aircraft for the Soviets. This is the I-225 and it comes after the I-185 in the tree. So if we go down, the MiG line turns into the I-16, then the I-185s, and now the I-225. It sits itself at 5.7, rank 4, and it has to compete with the likes of the Yak-9 UT, also the Tu-2S, the Yak-3 VK-107, and also the stuff like the Focke-Wulf on 90D9, sorry about that. So, with that all said, what are we getting out of this aircraft? And for all intensive purposes, this seems like some kind of super prop that was a prototype the Soviets made. And the reason I say this is because of its damn engine. The engine is a 1750 horsepower engine, 1880 horsepower, takeoff. And when I say it's a super prop, look at the VK-107. Now, the VK-107 is seen as an aircraft which is incredibly good at what it does. It has 220mm, B-20M, B-20S, and it has an incredibly powerful engine, 1385 horsepower. It's a 5.7. Now, let's have a look once again at the I-225's engine, if we can. 1750! This is a powerful engine, an incredible engine, and on top of it, instead of just having 220s, this thing has 4 20mm Shvaks. It's got a lot of firepower, it's got a lot of power behind it in the engine, and it also has a interesting design. As you can see, the wings themselves are sloped backwards, very much similar to the Ilyushin series. It has quite a small tail, and also the armor, well, it doesn't really have any, since, well, it's basically a prototype. I believe it's also made out of wood, and, just make sure to check for yourself, but from the readings that I found, obviously they were kind of limited on this machine, it was made of wood. We also have some oil cooling systems, which is nice, some fuel tanks as well, behind the pilot and in front of him, but the main thing is the fact that you have these 420mm with 400 rounds of ammunition, and this big, beefy engine in the front of it. It also has a spaceship-style cockpit, very similar to the I-185. I don't really understand why the Soviets did that, but at least it makes the machine look really interesting. Overall, the best way I can describe this thing is this is the Soviet version of what I would class as an early Griffin Spit. Hell of a lot of power behind it, hell of a lot of firepower, designed to annihilate anything that it comes across. Now, if we look at the modifications on it, what we see is the default belts, FIT, API, are not too bad on the Shvaks. The Shvaks are very much like some of the other 20s, like the MG151s, which all of them are pretty good. All of the belts are good in certain ways, but mainly they are all very similar to each other. I personally like taking armored or ground target belts, but it's really up to you what you want to take. All of these are easily viable. And because of that, what I would actually recommend is the first thing you do is get fuselage, and then offensive 20mm, then get compressor, airframe, engine, wings repair, engine injection, and then get the rest. That's the way I've done it on all the Soviet aircraft, and it's worked for me. The flight performance is incredibly important on these machines, and since they get pretty good default belts, and also a lot of firepower, and it's all centrally mounted, so you don't have to worry too much about convergence, the main thing you've got to look for is trying to get the flight performance up so you can get those guns on target. Now, generally, the Soviets have struggled in rank 4 for propeller-driven aircraft, especially with the addition of stuff like P-51Hs, the later tier German aircraft, and also the stuff like all of the British aircraft that were added, such as all of the Griffin Spitfires, and also stuff like the Sea Fury. If we can just scroll down, I'll show you. There we go. All of these machines pretty much outdo a lot of the Soviet aircraft, and then of course the Japanese dicking on them too. So with all of this said, hopefully the I-225 can bring some balance to the force. It does have a lovely camo behind it, and let's take it out for a test flight. 726 kilometers an hour to be able to go in a straight line is definitely... Why is it not showing my side here? Is definitely something that you should not scoff at. It is a lot of It is a lot of power behind the engine. Let's just put this down. Come on, Montague. Oh, okay, 8 is the lowest, really? Alright then, well, we're shooting down 8 HE-111s in our plane. But with it all said, one of the things that I think the Soviets are missing from Rank 4 is some kind of super prop, some kind of thing that can compete with a lot of the super props that were added over a long period of time. Now, some of those super props, such as the P-51H and the Spitfire Mark 24, have kind of been swallowed up by the fact that, they face jets a lot. But I think we can get to a point where we just put a artificial barrier between jets and props, and planes like this will definitely help it out. Something that does, first of all, need checked or changed on the flight model of this is the fact that, as you can see, it leans left. Now, if this was a feature of the aircraft in real life, fair enough, but for me, I haven't found any documentation on this being the case. And maybe this was the reason why it wasn't put into service, but as you can see, the plane, I'm not touching the keyboard, I'm not touching anything right now, it's leaning left. It's as if the plane is not flying straight. Now, when we talk about maneuverability, it's definitely not as maneuverable as some other aircraft, and since I'm struggling to stop it leaning the whole time, and obviously there is a few issues with it, and going at high speeds, it does have the I-185 issue. Bloody hell, those 1.6s do a lot of damage. It does have the I-185 issue, where with the I-185, and once you get over about 600, 650, then what happens is the aircraft itself becomes very rigid, and the main parts which do become rigid are the rudder. So, hopefully, in time, I'll either get used to it with this thing, and it won't be as bad, or we'll be in a situation where it will, at least when it's not, when its flight model's fixed and it's not trying to lean left all the time, we won't have as many of the issues. Now, with 420mm, one of the problems which a lot of people bring up is this idea that, well, do you have enough ammo? And it's the same argument as what people said about the MiG-334. The MiG-334 was added. It has 220mm or 320mm, I can't remember, but it has 200 rounds of ammunition. You can pretty much hold down the trigger for a few seconds and all the ammunition disappears, and it's exactly the same thing with this. So, the counter to this argument is what you have to do as a player is make sure that you are lined up on a target and only shoot when you think you are able to hit the enemy. You just have to take in a little bit of patience when it comes to this. This aircraft is easily maneuverable enough, apart from when it's at really high speeds, but it's easily maneuverable enough at most speeds that you'll find it at to be able to wait for the time when you are ready to engage, and then all you have to do is a quick burst, since you have 420mm, annihilate the aircraft that you're trying to kill, and then move on. 400 cannon rounds should easily be enough to take out anything, at least, be able to carry a team. As you can see, the maneuverability is pretty good on it. The problem with having no armor on the front, though, is this is an issue that a lot of aircraft have run into, especially with the change to the damage models and how high max RPM. Interesting. This is an issue that a lot of aircraft have run into while they've been going around, especially after update 1.79, is the fact that if you don't have any armor, you can easily just get annihilated by a few shots, and that's what we're seeing with this machine. Since it has no armor on the front of it, where the engine is, all it's taking is 1 or 2 shots to be able to do a lot of damage to it. So this is going to be a fighter which is much more designed as you're not going to be able to take hits. One of the things that's nice about stuff like the P-47 is the fact that maybe you can get hit by a few enemy shots and you can still be pretty much combat effective. If we're talking about a lot of the other fighters, those Spitfires, P-51s, once they get hit, it's very hard to stay alive and be able to fight effectively. This machine is probably going to be one of those machines, since it's going to, you're going to have to fight at very, very you're going to have to fight at incredibly fast speeds to be able to, you know, stay alive and everything like that at the level you find it. Let's just swap aircraft. I want to do some tests. Kill me, thank you. Oops. Alright, let's do some tests. Since it's an aircraft that what you'll have to do is try and keep up speed since it's at 5.7, then high-speed maneuverability is incredibly important. Also, with a new 5.7 aircraft, we may see a revitalization in some of the higher tier aircraft, such as the P-51H. And for me, with my testing of this aircraft, this will have nothing on something like a P-51H. It'll just get annihilated by it. Anyway, let's see. So we're going at about 650. Elevator is still good. Let's go at 700. Elevator is still good. 750. 770. Alright, so around about 800 IAS is when it starts struggling a little bit, but it still has decent maneuverability, not as good as I said, other aircraft like the P-51H, but it generally should be alright when we're talking about that. Oh, by the way, this is the cockpit. The cockpit does open. We are going a little bit fast to show you, but you can see the visibility around it is wonderful. So anybody who likes enduring confrontation or simulator battles, you'll be able to see all around. I really like this style of kind of spaceship cockpit, or space shuttle cockpit, as it's called. You know, with the Soviets, you see it on the I-185 as well. It's a small cockpit, as seen on the outside, but it gives you great visibility, which is what we're seeing. All of the instruments work, everything like that works. It looks like it's a full cockpit, and you know, no placeholder here, which is lovely. Now, the fact that it doesn't get secondary armaments may annoy a few people. It does annoy me a little bit, because it means that it's limited use in ground forces, means that it is just stuck being a fighter, and a fighter which doesn't have a ton of ammo. And when you have the likes of stuff like the Tu-2S, see, it hates rolling. It hates rolling left. Sorry, right, but rolling left is fine. I think this is, as I said, an issue with the flight model. The fact that it already leans left via aileron kind of shows that. So yeah, that is. I think that's a problem that will be fixed. So I'm not too worried about that. Getting guns on targets, of course, is not too hard at these speeds. Isn't very hard for any vehicle, but it definitely looks fragile with the way that it's been taking shots. Ooh. And it hasn't been taking shots well. The fact that it has this really powerful engine, though, makes me really hope that we're going to see an aircraft that is great at accelerating and will be able to deal with some of these German high-tier stuff like the K4. Because the K4, the TARs, are something that the Soviets have never really been able to deal with that well. The LA-9 used to be quite good at it, but nowadays it has been limited to the doldrums. So maybe this, with the I-225, this will be a renaissance of that type of fighting. It does have combat flaps, does also have takeoff, and does have landings. So you have the three there. It's not like many British vehicles where combat flaps were definitely not seen as useful. But yeah, the maneuverability of this aircraft is okay. I just hope that they fix the flight model issue that we see in front of us. Let's just kill this guy. There we go. I wouldn't worry about firepower. I'll definitely say that about this thing. Anyway, I hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll see you next time.